The Christmas tree lights blinked red and gold, casting a soft glow over the living room. But somehow, the house felt colder than the snow drifting silently outside. "Mom, we're not doing the big family thing this year," Brandon said, eyes glued to his phone, scrolling like the words themselves were too heavy to speak. "We're keeping it small. Immediate only." Immediate. That word cut sharper than the winter wind rattling against the windows. It wasn't loud. It didn't shout. But it pierced straight through me. I stood frozen, holding the tin of homemade peppermint cookies I had baked at 4 a.m., carefully arranged so they would be fresh and perfect. I had imagined the smiles, the laughter, the warmth of a full house, all gone now, replaced by a hollow silence. "My name is Margaret Ellison. I am 73 years old, a widow, and for 49 years, I believed a mother's love was unbreakable. That evening, I learned that love, no matter how strong, can be fragile, that it can bend and snap quietly, leaving only echoes behind." The cookies in my hands were warm, but they couldn't thaw the ache in my chest. I watched the tree lights flicker, casting dancing shadows that felt more like ghosts than holiday cheer. Each blink seemed to whisper, "You are alone now more than ever." I remembered all the years I had poured into this family. The early mornings, the late nights, the quiet sacrifices no one had noticed. Every plate washed, every fever soothed, every tear wiped away. And yet, in one small, casual phrase, "Immediate only," all of it seemed to vanish into the air, leaving me standing in a room full of memories that weren't enough. I wanted to speak, to argue, to hold on to what I had believed would always remain. But the words stuck in my throat, fragile as icicles hanging from the eaves. Instead, I simply stood there, listening to the soft hum of the Christmas lights and the distant sound of Brandon's laughter fading into his phone. That night, I learned that heartbreak doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it creeps in quiet and unannounced, reshaping the world you thought you knew. And sometimes, the people you love most don't even notice the cracks forming beneath the surface. I closed my eyes, trying to imagine warmth. But the cold lingered, not in the air, but in the hollow that had grown where hope used to live. And I realized in that moment that some lessons are crueler than the bitterest winter wind. They teach you that love, even the strongest, can break in silence. I drove home through streets strung with colored lights, lights that used to feel like magic. Now they look like warnings. My hands, scarred, ridged, still faintly smelling of vanilla and burnt sugar, clenched the steering wheel too tight. The warmth of the holiday felt distant, almost mocking. I had raised Brandon alone after his father died in the steel mill, when he was just 9. Those early years had been long, hard, and relentless. Double shifts at the bakery, frosted cakes at midnight, so he could have cleats for soccer. Every sacrifice quietly tucked into the folds of my life. I had sold my wedding ring once, to pay for his coding camp. That small circle of gold had bought him a chance, and I had never regretted it. Brandon used to call me every Christmas Eve just to hear me sing off-key, "O Little Town of Bethlehem." He would laugh, a warm, careless sound, and tell me my voice was unique. And I would laugh too, though the tears stung my eyes. That was our tradition, our secret warmth in the middle of winter. This year, he sent a text, running late. Maybe next week. Next week never came. I gripped the wheel tighter, my knuckles whitening. Memories pressed in on me. The early mornings, the scraped knees, the nights spent soothing a frightened child through thunderstorms. All of it seemed invisible now, replaced by a single text and the cold silence that followed. The streets glowed around me, holiday cheer reflected in every window, every storefront. But the lights only reminded me of absence, of laughter that had once filled this house, of love that had been measured in cookies, rides, late-night talks, and small miracles, and now measured in absence. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. The scent of vanilla and sugar still clung faintly to my fingers, a ghost of what had been, a reminder that I had given everything I could. And yet it wasn't enough. Driving past houses with laughter spilling into the night, I realized something cruel. Love doesn't always come back the way you give it. And sometimes the people you love most drift away quietly, leaving only memories and the scent of burnt sugar behind. Brandon married Claire 8 years ago. She was gentle, quick to laugh, and the only person who ever thanked me for teaching her my cinnamon roll recipe. A small gesture that felt enormous at the time. When the grandchildren arrived, Lily and Mason, I moved into the small apartment above the garage so I could help. Every cry, every midnight fuss, every tear-stained cheek became my responsibility. And I took it on gladly. I rocked colicky babies at 3 a.m., humming soft songs I barely remembered learning. I mastered their complicated stroller with my arthritis-prone fingers. Each click and fold a minor victory. Every effort felt like love in motion. Claire kissed my cheek every single night, whispering, "We're so lucky to have you, Margaret." Her words were warmth I carried into the quiet hours. The glow in a home that had suddenly grown brighter. But Brandon, he stopped saying thank you somewhere along the way. Not in anger. Not in spite. Just absence. I would hear laughter echoing from the living room. See the smiles, the little hands reaching for me, and feel the sting of unspoken gratitude, the unacknowledged sacrifices, the countless mornings I had woken before dawn, the nights I had stayed awake, the small, invisible acts of love that built a family. Brandon, the boy I had raised alone, the child I had fought for, had drifted into a space where my presence was expected, my efforts invisible. And yet, for all that, I continued. Because love doesn't always keep score. It shows up. It rocks colicky babies. It folds strollers. It teaches cinnamon rolls. Even when it is unseen. The divorce came fast and ugly. Claire found messages. Brandon found a younger assistant who called him visionary. Claire moved out with the children and 2 suitcases. I begged Brandon to fight for them. He shrugged. She'll be fine. Kids are resilient. I watched my grandchildren wave goodbye from the back of Claire's dented sedan. Noses pressed to the glass, their little hands leaving prints that I would remember long after the car disappeared down the street. That night, I sat on the garage steps and cried until my ribs ached, until every tear felt like it carried the weight of all the years I had poured into this family. Brandon never noticed I was gone. The house was quiet, too quiet. Filled only with shadows and echoes of the laughter that had once lived there. Every corner held a memory, every sound a reminder of what had been taken without argument, without explanation. I felt invisible, though I had been present for every scraped knee, every midnight lullaby, every small victory and quiet celebration. The child I had raised, the man I had believed would always remember, had moved on, leaving only absence behind. And there I sat, listening to the wind rattle the Christmas lights above, realizing that sometimes the people you love most disappear from your life without even noticing you are missing. 6 months later, Claire rented a tiny duplex 20 miles away. I drove over with grocery bags and my old sewing machine, the familiar weight of responsibility settling onto my shoulders like it had so many times before. The children flew into my arms as if I were Christmas morning itself, their laughter filling the cramped space, chasing away a little of the emptiness that had been growing in my chest. Claire's eyes were hollow. "Rent is late again," she whispered. Brandon stopped the support payments. I opened my purse and gave her every dollar I had saved for a new winter coat. My hands shook, but my voice did not. "We'll figure it out together," I said. It wasn't a promise. It was a commitment. A reminder that even when the people you love fail to show up, you can still be there for them. That sometimes, love is simply standing firm, steady, carrying the weight so others can breathe. The children didn't notice the strain in my hands. They only knew the warmth of my arms, the gentle hum of my presence, the security that, for this moment, I could give. And for Claire, for the first time in months, there was a flicker of relief, a small sense that someone was still on their side. I left that duplex that day with tired arms and a heavier heart, but also with a renewed sense of purpose. Because even when the world falters, even when the people you trust abandon their responsibilities, love doesn't disappear. It adapts. It persists. It finds a way. Meanwhile, Brandon's new life glittered. A new condo downtown. A new fiancé with perfect teeth. New Christmas cards that featured only the two of them on a sunlit beach. My invitation never arrived. I mailed gifts for Lily and Mason to Claire instead, each carefully wrapped, each chosen with love. Hours later, a text appeared. Claire had sent a photo of the children hugging the packages, their eyes shining, their smiles wide and genuine. "Thank you, Grandma. You are our Christmas." In that moment, the sting of absence softened. The hurt caused by Brandon's choices couldn't erase the bond one had with my grandchildren. They didn't need my presence to feel my love. They felt it in the small gestures, in the packages, in the quiet devotion I had poured into their lives. The holiday lights outside blinked gently, reminding me that even in the coldest, loneliest seasons, warmth can still exist. Sometimes, love is not about recognition or credit. It's about being there, even from afar, letting those you care for know that they are never truly alone. And for the first time that season, I let myself smile. December 23rd. I was wrapping books in brown paper when my attorney, Helen Grant, called. "Margaret, the lake house just sold. Closing is tomorrow. Full cash offer, $2.8 million. The lake house. The one I had bought with my retirement after selling the family home. Also, Brandon could start his company without loans. The house that held decades of memories, every corner echoing with laughter, tears, and the quiet work of building a life. Title still in my name alone. He had forgotten that detail. I sank into the chair by the window, letting the words settle. $2.8 million. A sum so large it almost felt unreal. Yet it was tangible proof of something I had quietly carried all these years. Ownership. Independence. A reminder that even when others fail to notice, some things, some victories, remain solely yours. I looked at the wrapped books, the carefully tied twine, the holiday lights flickering outside. Life had a way of circling back. Sometimes it offered a gift not of recognition, not of gratitude, but of consequence. Of justice quiet, steady and unwavering. For the first time in a long while, I let myself feel a spark of triumph. Not over Brandon, not over anyone else, but over a lifetime of effort, sacrifice, and love that had never truly gone unnoticed, even if he had. Helen continued. The buyer wants to close before Christmas. Funds will be in your account on the 24th. I looked at the tiny artificial tree in my apartment, its lights flickering like tired stars, weak but still shining. I thought of Lily's worn-out boots, Mason's cough that wouldn't go away because the duplex heat was broken, Claire working double shifts at the hospital, falling asleep on her feet. All of it, the children, their struggles, Claire's exhaustion, pressed on me like a quiet responsibility I could not ignore. I said, Helen, I know exactly what I'm doing with every penny. It wasn't bravado. It was certainty born of decades of sacrifice and love. Every decision, every act, every choice I had made had led to this moment. And now, for the first time in years, I had the power to make a difference where it truly mattered. The glow from the little tree reflected in the window, and for the first time in a long while, I felt warmth. Not in the house, not in letters or texts, but in knowing I could turn fortune into hope, love into action, and heartbreak into care. This Christmas, the gifts wouldn't come from a store. They would come from a lifetime of devotion, quietly given, quietly earned, and now, finally, fully within my control. Christmas Eve morning. I drove to the title company alone. I signed the papers with the same cracked hands that once braided Claire's hair on her wedding day. Hands that had held babies, kneaded dough, and built a family with quiet determination. $2,800,000 hit my account at 11:07 a.m. I did not smile yet. There was still work to do. Because this wasn't about money. It never had been. It was about care. It was about the children, about Claire, about setting things right in ways that truly mattered. The balance of decades of love, sacrifice, and heartbreak rested in my hands now, and I intended to use it wisely. The glow from the morning sun through the car windshield seemed pale compared to the fire of purpose that surged quietly inside me. This Christmas, I would make sure that those I loved most felt it. Not the grandeur, not the wealth, but the unmistakable warmth of someone who never gave up on them. I called a realtor friend, Ruth, who owed me 40 years of favors. Find me the perfect 4-bedroom with a big kitchen and a yard big enough for a swing set. Quiet street. Good schools. Close by. 3 hours later, she called back. Colonial. Wraparound porch. Apple tree in the back. Cash offer. Closed December 31st. I signed again. This time, my hand did not shake at all. Because after years of giving, waiting, and hoping, I finally had the power to make a home. Not just a house, but a place where love, laughter, and warmth could grow. A place for Lily and Mason to run barefoot in the yard. A place for Claire to breathe between shifts. A place that would never feel cold, empty, or forgotten. For the first time in a long while, I felt a quiet triumph. Not over anyone, but for everyone I loved. The sacrifices, the heartbreak, the long nights and early mornings, they had all led here. And now, finally, it could all be transformed into something tangible. Something that would last. I went to the bank next. Set up trusts for Lily and Mason. College funds, locked until they turned 18, ironclad and secure. Paid Claire's nursing school loans in full. Created a household account in Claire's name only. Enough for her to breathe for the first time in years. It wasn't about control. It was about freedom. About removing the weight she had been carrying alone for too long. Every signature, every deposit, every account was a promise made quietly but firmly. I've got you. Always. As I walked out of the bank, I felt the weight in my chest shift. Not lighter, but steadier. The long years of sacrifice, worry, and heartbreak were finally taking shape into something lasting, tangible, and filled with love. This Christmas, the gifts weren't wrapped in paper or ribbons. They were in futures secured, burdens lifted, and the certainty that the people I loved most could finally live without fear. Christmas Eve, 6 p.m. I pulled up to the duplex in my rattling old sedan. Snow fell soft and thick, coating the street in quiet white. Claire opened the door, hair in a tired bun, scrubs rumpled from a long shift. Margaret? Everything okay? I handed her an envelope and 2 small gift boxes. Open these tomorrow morning with the kids. Then come outside. Her eyes widened slightly, a mix of curiosity and exhaustion. I gave her a small, steady smile. A quiet assurance that whatever this was, it came from love. And it came with no strings, no expectations, just care. The snow swirled between us, coating the porch railings and melting softly on her shoulders. I turned toward my car, heart pounding, waiting for the moment when the season's magic would finally reach them. Not through words, but through action, through presence, through a gift of hope carefully planned and quietly delivered. Christmas morning. I waited across the street under the street lamp, snowflakes settling softly into my gray hair. The world was hushed, wrapped in winter's quiet, as if it, too, was holding its breath. Claire stepped onto the porch, holding the keys I had left in the envelope. She read the card again, eyes wide, hands trembling. The children ran out in their pajamas, their laughter slicing through the cold morning air. They screamed in delight when they saw the minivan in the driveway, bright red bow on top, shining like a promise. Claire looked up, and her eyes found me in the dark. The exhaustion and fear of the past months melted away as tears rolled down her cheeks. She started to cry, quietly at first, then with the fullness of a heart finally unburdened. In that moment, standing in the falling snow, I realized the truth I had carried all these years. Love isn't measured by recognition or gratitude. It's measured by presence, by action, by the quiet, steadfast devotion that shows up when it matters most. And in that crisp Christmas light, with Claire's tears and the children's laughter echoing through the snow, I felt a warmth that no heartbreak, no absence, no struggle could ever take away. She crossed the snow, barefoot, and hugged me so hard I felt my bones creak. "You sold the lake house?" she whispered, disbelief and awe mingling in her voice. "Some things are worth more than memories that hurt," I said softly. She pulled back, tears freezing on her cheeks. "Brandon will lose his mind." I smiled for the first time in months, the weight of years finally lifting from my shoulders. That's not my concern anymore. In that moment, standing together in the soft glow of Christmas morning, I felt the quiet triumph of a lifetime of love, sacrifice, and perseverance. The cold snow, the bitter months of worry and heartbreak, all of it melted away in the warmth of hope restored and futures secured. Sometimes the most powerful gift isn't money, or houses, or grand gestures. Sometimes it's the certainty that those you love will be safe, cared for, and free to thrive. And this Christmas, that gift was finally mine to give. We moved them in on December 29th. I carried boxes until my arms burned, muscles aching, but my heart full. Lily chose the bedroom with the window seat, already imagining afternoons curled up with a book. Mason hung his stocking on the new mantel, stepping back to admire it with a proud grin. Claire stood in the kitchen, sunlight pouring over the white cabinets, and cried again when she opened the pantry I had already stocked. Tears and laughter mingled in the warm, golden morning light. Every corner of the house held a quiet promise. A place to grow, a place to rest, a place where love didn't vanish, where care was tangible and steady. In that moment, I realized the true meaning of giving. It isn't about perfection or grandeur. It's about presence, effort, and the certainty that those you love will always have a foundation beneath their feet. And for the first time in years, I felt that my foundation was finally strong, unshakable, and filled with hope. New Year's Eve. Brandon finally noticed the lake house was gone. He called 42 times. I let every single one ring. His last voicemail was pure panic. "Mom, the buyer said the seller left a message for me. What did you do?" I did not call back. For years, I had carried worry, sacrifice, and love that went unseen. But this time, the choice was mine. Silence became my statement. Absence became my answer. Outside, the year ended in fireworks and celebration, but inside, I felt only quiet triumph. I had spent decades giving everything to those I loved, and finally, for the first time in my life, I had given something solely for them, and for myself. The message the buyer delivered was simple, handwritten on heavy cream paper. "Merry Christmas, Brandon. Some gifts are given to the people who never stopped saying thank you, Mom." I pictured him reading it, eyes wide, heart pounding, finally realizing that some lessons aren't taught with words, but with actions. For years I had given, sacrificed, and loved quietly, often unseen, often unacknowledged. But this was the culmination of a lifetime of care, patience, and quiet strength. And in that moment, I felt the true weight of Christmas. Not in wealth or recognition, but in love, persistence, and the unwavering power of doing what's right, even when no one notices. Some gifts, I realized, are meant to be given not for thanks, but for the lasting change they create, and for the peace they bring to the giver. January came soft and bright. Claire enrolled in the nursing program she had always dreamed of. The children started at the new school, backpacks new, smiles easy and carefree. I moved into the little in-law suite off the kitchen, a cozy space that felt like both a refuge and a home. My room smells of cinnamon and sea salt, the candles Claire buys me every week filling the air with warmth and comfort. A quiet reminder that love and gratitude can be gentle, steady, and enduring. For the first time in years, the house felt full not just with people, but with life, hope, and the quiet happiness of a family healed. Some evenings, we sit on the porch swing. Lily reads out loud, her voice carrying across the yard, clear and confident. Mason draws pictures of superheroes who look suspiciously like his grandmother, proudly showing them off with wide, mischievous grins. Claire rests her head on my shoulder, the same way she did when she was still my daughter-in-law on paper, before life's burdens weighed her down. The air is crisp, the sunset painting the sky in soft oranges and pinks. In these quiet moments, I realize that family isn't just blood or obligation. It's presence, laughter, shared warmth, and the love we choose to give every day. These hands once frosted wedding cakes at midnight so my son could chase his dreams. They sold a lake house full of memories that had turned bitter. They signed papers that built a new home for the family that never forgot me. Every line, every wrinkle, every scar carries a story of sacrifice, love, and quiet strength. And in those hands, the past and future meet. Proof that devotion endures, even when unacknowledged, and that the greatest gifts are often those given without expectation. Brandon married the assistant in March. A small destination ceremony, sun-soaked and distant. No invitation arrived. I sent nothing. Silence can be the kindest answer. For years, I had given everything I had: love, guidance, patience, sacrifices that never made the headlines and rarely earned a word of thanks. I had baked cookies at 4 a.m., braided hair, stayed awake through nights of coughs and colic, and sold my own treasures to fund opportunities for him. And yet, when he found a new life, a new partner, a new set of priorities, he made no space for the woman who had carried him through childhood and the years beyond. I remembered the first time I had noticed the change. The little thank yous stopped. The warm glances faded. The boy who once called just to hear me sing off-key on Christmas Eve was replaced by someone who measured time and attention and convenience. I could have shouted, argued, or chased him down. I could have demanded recognition. But what would it have solved? Nothing. Silence is powerful. Silence is quiet, steady, unshakable. It is the refusal to validate disrespect, the choice to step back when the other refuses to step toward you. And so I remained silent. I did not send a gift, I did not leave a note, I did not make a scene. I let the world move around me while I held on to my own dignity and my own heart. Meanwhile, the family who truly mattered, the children, the daughter-in-law who became more like a daughter, and the little ones I had raised in spirit and care thrived. Lily and Mason laughed, learned, and grew in the new home I had built for them. Claire's burdens lightened. The laughter in that house was real, earned, and lasting. And as I watched the months slip by, I understood a profound truth. Love and attention are not currency to be hoarded or misused. They are gifts, freely given to those who will honor them. Some people will never do that. Some relationships, no matter how deep their roots, will wither if the effort isn't mutual. Silence, in that case, becomes a gift in itself, a boundary, a statement, a refusal to be complicit in their disregard. Brandon's small, sunlit wedding was a marker of all the things he chose. But my silence, calm and deliberate, was a reflection of all I had built, all I had preserved, and all I had left for those who deserved it. Some lessons are taught without words. Some gifts are delivered without a hand extended. And in the quiet, I felt not anger or loss, but liberation. Peace I had earned with every cracked, calloused hand that had labored for love, not for acknowledgement. Silence can be the kindest answer. And in that quiet, I finally found my own peace. Spring turned to summer. The apple tree bloomed, petals drifting in the warm breeze like delicate confetti, marking the passage of time and the quiet miracles of life. We made pies together, 4 generations of hands in the dough, rolling, kneading, sprinkling sugar. Laughter and flour filled the kitchen, weaving memories that would last far longer than any photograph. Claire graduated top of her nursing class. I sat in the audience, holding Mason on my lap, his small hands gripping mine, eyes wide with wonder. Lily waved a handmade sign. "We love you, Mommy and Grandma." In that moment, all the years of sacrifice, worry, and unacknowledged devotion crystallized into something tangible. Pride, love, and the unbreakable bond of family. The lessons I had taught without expectation, the presents I had offered without notice, were returned tenfold in smiles, laughter, and joy. The sun shone down warmly, the scent of apple blossoms mingling with the faint smell of summer grass, and I understood something simple and profound. Some gifts, the most important ones, are never measured in money or recognition. They are measured in love made visible, in moments shared, in lives touched and nurtured. And in that gentle summer light, surrounded by the family I had worked so hard to protect and cherish, I finally felt the quiet, enduring fulfillment of a life well lived. One night, Claire found me on the porch, staring at the stars. She sat beside me. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked softly. I looked down at my scarred, steady hands, the hands that had baked, comforted, carried, and built a family through years of love and sacrifice. "Regret is for people who still have something to lose," I said. She rested her head on my shoulder again, just as she had countless times before, and for a long moment, we simply sat there. The night was quiet, the sky wide and infinite above us, filled with the gentle promise of everything we had survived and everything still to come. In that silence, I understood that a life devoted to love, patience, and steadfast care leaves no room for regret. Only peace, pride, and the quiet joy of watching the ones you love thrive. The children call me Grandma Margaret now. Claire calls me Mom. The words land soft and warm every single time, like the first sun of spring after a long winter, gentle and steady, filling spaces that had been empty for far too long. It's not just the sound of the words. It's the weight of them, the recognition and acceptance that stretches beyond titles, beyond relationships on paper. These words carry love, respect, and the quiet acknowledgement of a lifetime spent giving, caring, and sacrificing. They are small, ordinary words, but they hold extraordinary meaning. Some mornings, I watch Lily tie Mason's shoes, guiding him with patience she has learned from me. Sometimes, Mason climbs into my lap with a picture he's drawn, his tiny hands pressing the crayon strokes into mine as he says, "Look, Grandma." And in those moments, the echoes of past Christmas mornings, late nights, and uncounted sacrifices become a gentle hum beneath my ribs, a reminder that every effort mattered. Claire rests her hand on my shoulder as we move through the kitchen, the scent of cinnamon and sea salt curling around us from the candles she buys. She smiles, a small, knowing smile that tells me she sees the love woven into every decision, every gesture, every quiet act I made over the years. She calls me Mom, and I am home. Sometimes, when the children are asleep and the house is quiet, I sit on the porch swing and let the night settle around me. The apple tree blooms outside, petals drifting like soft snow, and I remember the winters, the Christmases, the empty silences, and the hard lessons learned in patience and resilience. Yet none of that feels bitter anymore. It all led here, to this peace, this family, this moment of belonging. I realize that love is not about recognition or acknowledgement, though those are sweet when they come. Love is about showing up, staying steady, giving quietly, and knowing that, even when unseen, it shapes the world in ways that matter. And now, the children call me Grandma Margaret, Claire calls me Mom, and every utterance carries the proof of that enduring truth. Every day, their voices remind me of what truly matters. The warmth of a hug, the pride in shared accomplishments, the joy in laughter, and the soft, unspoken bond that exists between hearts who have weathered storms together. These words, repeated over and over, land like gentle rain, healing, nourishing, and filling the spaces that were once hollow. And so, with every grandma and every mom, I feel the quiet, radiant happiness of a life lived in love, of sacrifices repaid not in wealth or recognition, but in presence, in joy, in enduring connection. I kept one photograph from the old lake house, me holding baby Lily while Claire laughed in the background. It sits on my nightstand, a quiet reminder of the years gone by, of love given freely, and of moments that shaped the family we have become. Some memories are worth keeping. I look at that photo often, tracing the smiles frozen in time, the laughter, the tiny hands, the warmth of a home filled with life and hope. It all reminds me that while houses can be sold, grudges can fade, and pain can heal, The essence of love endures. Even after heartbreak, even after silence and absence, some memories carry a light that never dims. They teach us what matters, who we are, and why the sacrifices we make are never truly lost. And so the photograph stays, soft, steady, and radiant, a small piece of the past, tucked carefully beside the present, a reminder that love, patience, and devotion leave an imprint that no time, distance, or loss can erase. Brandon tried once more last Christmas. He left a long voicemail, his voice hesitant, asking to start fresh. I listened, then deleted it. Fresh starts are for people who never burned the bridge in the first place. I had spent decades giving, building, and loving quietly. I had held the family together through heartbreak, absence, and betrayal. But some lessons are learned too late, and some bridges, once set ablaze by disregard and selfishness, cannot be crossed again. There is power in choosing where your energy goes, in deciding who deserves your presence, your love, and your care. Silence can be as kind as action, as firm as a foundation, and sometimes, it is the most honest answer we can give. That Christmas, I let the past rest. I let my heart stay full for those who mattered, for those who saw me, valued me, and never forgot the devotion that had carried them. Some doors close so that the right ones can open, and in that closure, I found peace. This Christmas, the tree is real, fragrant, towering, almost too tall for the living room. We decorated it together. Popcorn strings, paper chains, laughter echoing off the walls, filling every corner with warmth and joy. Claire hung a new ornament. A tiny house with 4 stick figures and the year painted carefully on the roof. I paused, taking it all in. The children's excitement, the glow of the lights, the soft scent of pine mingling with the faint sweetness of cookies still cooling on the counter. It was more than a tree. It was a symbol of all we had built, all we had preserved, and all the love that had survived the storms of the past. The little ornament caught the light, and for a moment, the years of struggle, heartbreak, and sacrifice felt far away. Here was what truly mattered. A family that thrived, laughter that filled the rooms, and the quiet, unspoken gratitude of knowing that love endured. Lily asked why Grandpa Brandon isn't coming. Claire and I exchanged a quiet, knowing look, the kind that says more than words ever could. I knelt to her level, looking into her wide, earnest eyes. Some people forget how to come home, sweetheart. But we never will. She nodded solemnly, taking a deep breath, then hugged me tight. Her small arms wrapped around me, and in that embrace, I felt the weight of years, of sacrifices, of patience, of love given without expectation, finally settling into peace. The living room was warm with the glow of the Christmas tree. Popcorn chains draped across its branches, paper stars hanging from the ceiling, and the faint scent of pine and sugar cookies lingering in the air. Mason crawled into my lap, his little hands clutching a homemade ornament. And for a moment, all the noise of the past, the absence, the disappointment, the long nights of worry, faded into the quiet joy of the present. I realized that some lessons are taught not through lectures or scolding, but through actions and consistency. Love, steadfast and unshakable, is remembered. Commitment is remembered. And even when others falter, the bonds we nurture remain. Lily's hug, Claire's smile, Mason's laughter. They were proof that family isn't defined by someone's choices or absences. It is defined by the hearts that show up, over and over again. I held Lily a little longer, feeling her heartbeat against mine, thinking of the winters we had weathered, the quiet Christmas mornings, the small victories and moments of triumph that no one else noticed. All of it led to this sense of belonging, security, and the simple, irreplaceable magic of being home. And in that moment, I understood fully that Christmas isn't about the people who are missing. It's about the people who stay, who care, who give quietly, who show up with love, patience, and unwavering devotion. That knowledge, carried gently in my heart, felt more precious than any gift under the tree. Lily let go and ran to Mason, and I rose to my feet, smiling through the quiet tears that stung my eyes. Home wasn't perfect. Life wasn't perfect. But love, true enduring love, had finally found its place in our hearts. These hands are older now, more wrinkled, but they are never empty. They hold little hands crossing the street, steadying wobbly steps, offering safety and reassurance. They stir soup when someone is sick, fingers moving with the careful rhythm of decades of care, filling kitchens with warmth and the smell of home. They sign birthday cards that say, "Love, Grandma," in careful, proud letters, each stroke a testament to the love and devotion woven through years of quiet sacrifice. These hands carry stories of long nights, of joy and heartbreak, of the countless small acts that shaped a family. Every wrinkle, every scar, every line tells of meals baked, tears wiped, and dreams nurtured. And even now, as time presses forward, they continue to give, steady and unshakable. The hands of someone who has learned that true legacy is not in wealth or recognition, but in the small, steadfast ways we show up for the people we love. With these hands, I have built a home, held a family together, and left a mark that will endure far longer than words, far longer than any photograph or house ever could. This Christmas, look around your table. See who still shows up when the lights dim and the gifts are gone. Those are the ones who deserve your miracles. My name is Margaret Ellison. I live in a house filled with laughter and the smell of cinnamon. My son forgot me, but his ex-wife never did. And this year, I gave her the Christmas miracle he never deserved. Because love doesn't always stay where you first plant it. Sometimes it grows exactly where it's watered. If this story warmed your heart, share it with someone who needs to remember. Real family isn't always blood. Think of the people who became your unexpected home. The ones who never let you feel forgotten. Who showed up when it mattered most. Some gifts are too big for under a tree. They're the roofs we put over the people who never stopped calling us home. If you like this story, share it with someone who needs to remember where they came from. Leave a comment about the person who became your unexpected home. Subscribe for more stories.